been a great undertaking. Thank you, Martha, for offering to help co-moderate this panel, and thanks to the speakers and everybody who came. It's going to be hopefully an exciting evening. GMO Free Seattle is a group that got together after the Green Festival. Jeffrey Smith from the Institute of Responsible Technology assembled a group back in June, and to really try and coordinate some of the GMO activities in this area, and to try and touch base with some of the other groups that were already established, and to try and bring people together to kind of coalesce things and move forward in this movement. And it's pretty exciting what's happening over the last couple months. There are a lot of states that are passing labeling initiatives, and if California and Vermont, two isolated states, have a good chance on getting their agendas out and passing this next year. If these two states pass the labeling initiative that genetically modified foods have to be labeled, this probably will go away overnight, because the companies will probably not label things in two states and forsake the liability of not labeling it in the other 48 states. So how many people would like to obliterate and get rid of this problem in the next couple of years? How many of you all are willing to do more than clap and to get involved with us and help us and really participate? That's what it's going to take. Start with Nick Rose from PCC. Nick is a master's level nutritionist. He's a nutrition educator for PCC. He hosts the weekly walk, talk, and taste classes at each of the PCC's 9 locations in the greater Seattle area. In these free classes, Nick reveals the seasonal, sustainable, and delicious food choices available at PCC. Before coming to PCC Natural Markets, Nick taught nutrition courses at Bastyr and his alma mater, Virginia Tech. His passion for healthy, localized food systems motivated him to coordinate the 100-mile diet challenges for groups living in Virginia and then in Washington State, and to develop a college course on local food systems. Nick also spent a summer working for the nonprofit Farmland Trust, whose mission is to saving local organic farmland forever. So I'd like to welcome Nick to our panel. And if you have questions, please pass those so we can take a look at them ahead of time.
So at PCC Natural Markets, in terms of what we're doing to educate the public about GMOs, first I'll talk about what we're doing in our stores. So we do highlight items that are enrolled in the non-GMO verified project. So we put a little icon or sticker next to the price tag for items in our store that are enrolled into that project, which we've already heard a little bit about. We have some signage in our stores to promote that project and raise awareness about that project. We also have a database on our website, so if people want to learn about that project, learn what items in our stores are signed on to that project, the non-GMO project, they can find that from home before coming into the stores. When that project started 1 year ago, we started with about 350 items in our stores that were enrolled in that project. Now, just 1 year later, we're up to, I believe, 650 products that are signed on to that project. That's a positive statistic there. I also teach, as you mentioned, a free class in each one of our stores. It's called a Walk, Talk, and Taste Tour. We talk about a lot of different issues. GMOs are just one of many issues that we talk about in those classes. But we often give people tips on how to avoid some of the at-risk ingredients that are likely to be genetically modified. And then we just have a general commitment to our organics in our stores. So for example, 94% of the produce that we sell at PCC is certified organic. So that's obviously one thing we have a long-standing commitment to. And then in terms of our education and outreach, so that's just what we do in our stores. Education and outreach, many of you guys I recognize a lot of people here who are likely members at PCC. We have a monthly newsletter called The Sound Consumer. GMOs are a topic that are frequently discussed in this. And in fact, I just counted today on our front page of our current issue, GMOs were actually mentioned 25 times just on the front page. Part of that is because we're highlighting the non-GMO project this month. We've written 17 public policy statements on the subject of GMOs since 2000, so we have a variety of public policy statements on a variety of different issues. Many were written by Goldie and other people at PCC over the years. We also send out PCC Advocates alerts. We have an email that we send out to people who are interested in becoming involved in issues that are important. So we actually send out an action alert about this event today. So that's kind of generally what we do at the outreach, education, and at the stores. In terms of what are some of the obstacles that we've had in terms of GMO foods, obviously a big obstacle is that GMO foods are not labeled. So that's been a challenge in terms of being able to pull GMOs out of our foods, out of our stores. For meats, so we carry both organic and non-organic meat at PCC, and so some of the meat and dairy products that are not certified organic, obviously there's going to be GMOs in there. We have asked every single vendor that supplies foods to PCC, whether it's a grocery item or an item that we carry in our deli, we have asked them to sign on to the non-GMO Verified project. And in fact, we're now giving preference to brands that are signed on to that project. So for example, if there are 2 companies that have a new delicious corn chip that would like to get into PCC, and one of them is signed on to the non-GMO project, the other is not, we will give preference to the one that is signed on to that project. So that's something we're doing at the grocery level. Other obstacles, I would say, something that Les has already mentioned, is the wide variety of knowledge and opinions of consumers. It's hard to reach out to all those people. I just taught a class this past week in one of our stores, and there were 10 people in the class, and I said, let me see a show of hands. How many of you guys here think that genetically engineered foods are labeled? And 3 people out of that group actually raised their hand thinking that foods here in the US that were genetically engineered were labeled. So we've got that group of people who's not very well informed, doesn't know much about the issue. Then on the complete opposite side, we have the people who are in this room here today. You guys are very likely much more educated, involved, and concerned about this. And so it's a challenge to reach out to both groups. And then of course there are those people who are maybe somewhere in the middle. Maybe they heard about genetically engineered foods 3 or 4 years ago. They were concerned for a few months, and they've kind of maybe lost interest or concern in it. So it's a challenge to be able to reach out to all those different types of consumers. So that's a big obstacle. In terms of moving forward, obviously we're going to continue to label foods in our stores. We're going to continue to write about this in the Sound Consumer, send out alerts to the public. And I'm actually developing some staff education for everyone who works at PCC. So we've got 9 locations. We offer a lot of different types of ongoing staff education. And it's one of my goals that every single person who works at PCC will have a basic understanding of what does it mean for food to be genetically engineered, which foods are most likely, so that we can help all of our customers in our stores find foods that are less likely to be genetically engineered. So thanks for inviting me.
Nell Abercrombie with Central Co-op. Wonderful. All right. Nell is passionate about the way our food system embodies the challenges and opportunities we face as a culture. I gather that this is what you've shared with us. Yes, the inequalities and injustices of our social structure, the threats of environmental degradation and overconsumption, our disconnection from our own bodies and the rest of the natural world, and the redemptive potential of food when it's produced, distributed, shared, and eaten in ways that honor our health and spirit, our relationships with each other and to nature. Nell's formal educational background is in women's studies with an emphasis on race, class, and gender, violence, globalization, and transactional analysis, which listens to the histories, experiences, and perspectives of people across the globe. She works at Central Co-op as a member of the Cooperative Advancement Team, supporting owner services, community outreach, graphics design, marketing, and messaging. Thank you for joining us now. Why don't you stand up as well?
Okay.
It's easier to see you. Thanks.
Thank you for the introduction and for inviting me to be here. Central Co-op is really glad to be part of this event, for sure. So Central Co-op is as a co-op, is community-owned. We're a natural food store in the heart of Seattle, and our mission statement dedicates us to sustainable practices, the local food economy, and community accountability. So right there in our mission statement, we really feel obligated to take the safety of our food system seriously, and that includes GMOs. So what we are currently doing to educate consumers about GMOs, there's a variety of things that we're doing. We have a position statement on GMOs that we have posted on our website and around the store, where we describe that what we value is protecting heirloom seeds, the integrity of our food system, that we do not support irradiated or genetically modified organisms. We also prohibit them in our product guidelines. We have pretty stringent product guidelines which guide how we do purchasing in our store. So we will not knowingly purchase or sell irradiated or genetically modified products. As a few people have mentioned and we've discussed, because there's no mandatory labeling, that really creates a big obstacle for how much it's realistic to adhere to that. And I can get to that in a second. So we do prohibit them in our product guidelines. We use our newsletter and our website and our social media to publish articles and updates on GMOs and genetic engineering, so trying to keep people updated about what's going on. We have written about the deregulation of alfalfa, the partial deregulation of sugar beets, which also happened this year. Some GMO salmon is something that we will be writing about soon. So just try to use our media outlets to keep people a little bit, more informed and aware about what's going on. We also use shelf tags to identify non-GMO project verified items. So it's just a really simple little tag you can look for whenever you're shopping in whatever store it is that you shop at. It says non-GMO project verified. So that indicates that it's an item that has been certified by a third party to not contain any genetically modified ingredients. We also support organizations actively working for consumer education and safety on GMOs. So we're a founding member of the Non-GMO Project. We are a member of or support the Center for Food Safety, which right now is undertaking a lawsuit against the USDA for deregulating alfalfa, GMO alfalfa. We're supporting GMO Free Washington and are participating in Non-GMO Month, which includes, our activity around that includes supplying non-GMO shopping guides. We'll be collecting signatures for a campaign called Just Label It that is organized by the National Cooperative Grocers Association. So that will be in our stores pretty soon. We also, really exciting news for us is that we've just recently hired a sustainable product advocate. That's a new position in our store that's been created, and someone who's been a long-time staff member, Meg Kennedy, has taken that position. So she will be available to be a little bit more of a full-time advocate for these issues. So a lot of us in the store are working on them, but and I'll just use this to segue into some of our challenges. One of our major challenges is staffing. A lot of this work is really labor intensive, staying on top of what's happening in the food system, what kinds of actions people are taking or what's been deregulated. So it'll be great to have someone who's a little bit more dedicated to these kinds of topics in particular. And then the other big obstacle is again the lack of mandatory labeling. So it's just so challenging to know whether or not anything has been contaminated outside of you can certify whether or not your practices that are formally employed in farming or producing a product, whether or not they contain any genetically modified organisms. There's always risk of drift. Things that can slip through detection. So yeah, not having that mandatory labeling backing you up can be really challenging. So what we would like to do is to continue supporting organizations that are doing work that is aligned with our mission. So doing work that is educating the public about genetically modified organisms and supporting the food system from GMOs. We'll continue labeling certified products, and we'll continue emphasizing organics and adhering to our product guidelines. We'll continue reporting on the existence of GMOs in our food system, and as I was saying, our sustainable product advocate can provide some additional support. And if anyone is an owner of Central Co-op, feel free to drop by our Product Issues Committee meeting or Owner Involvement Committee meeting. We really rely on a lot of owner input to really drive the policy of our co-op, so feel free to join in. Thank you.
The Just Label It campaign. It's only gotten launched in the last week. You're going to get, as part of your handout when you leave, there is a label of our, one of the pages is a whole bunch of references. So if you'll really go look at the Just Label It campaign, I put an easy domain name that you can go to and sign up. It's a way of all of us getting involved, what we can do to share it with other people, and to really spread this labeling initiative around. I'd like to turn to Elizabeth Walsh from Whole Foods Market. Elizabeth is the Executive Coordinator of Marketing for the Pacific Northwest region of Whole Foods, and I now see why it's taken so long. I have to interact with so many people to get a hold of Elizabeth. She's the Marketing Coordinator for 17 stores in the Pacific Northwest region, including British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon. With a passion for natural and organic food, she's dedicated to increasing awareness of sustainable agriculture and educating customers so they may make more informed choices about their foods and food purchase. So thank you very much for coming.
5 minutes, I could talk about this all day. What are we doing to educate our customers? Well, we've really, we have a couple of venues for educating our customers. We have a lot of information online talking about our stance on genetically modified organisms, our history in the organic movement, and what our position is with organic and genetically engineered. During the discussion in the open discussion format for the alfalfa deregulation, we were actively involved in educating our customers, educating all of our team members on what the issue is and how to get involved in that. Since then, we've really been focusing on increasing transparency. We agree that an informed consumer will make the best choice in their purchasing decisions, and we've taken great strides in our meat and seafood and in produce, and we're continuing to increase transparency into our food supply in our stores. Our team members are our biggest advocates, and we train all team members on organic standards and organic integrity. All new team members get detailed training on organics. As a certified organic grocer, we receive regular audits, and we retrain our team members every couple of years on organics as well. We've got labeling with partners with the Non-GMO Project, and we label our products that are part of the Non-GMO Project. We also have a list online. Customers can go online and look at all of the products that we sell that are either organic, verified under the Non-GMO Project, or part of our private label. All of our private label products have been sourced to avoid genetically modified organisms. Obstacles. I think some of our other panel members have alluded to these. Lack of transparency into our food supply is an obstacle. So we get a lot of questions like, why don't you label what's GMO? Well, you don't know? We don't know. That's the problem. So what we are doing is we're asking all of our suppliers to, we're encouraging them to source non-GMO products and label that. We are also labeling our stores what items are non-genetically modified, and that's part of the challenge. We're here with you. We're here to learn with you and try to evolve this conversation. And other challenges are just misconceptions, and that's another reason I'm here today. Is there's a lot of misunderstanding about Whole Foods market history and our stance on genetically engineered foods and ingredients, and so I want to help kind of demystify that a little bit and have an open dialogue with our community and find ways that we can encourage more of our consumers to choose non-genetically engineered foods.
Now to Marlene's and Gina Olson. Gina has been an integral part of Marlene's for the last 13 years. She spent 3 years as Marlene's bulk food buyer, where she oversaw their state-of-the-art refrigerated bulk room, and has been in her current position as grocery category manager for the last 5 years. She oversees product ingredients and works closely with vendors to ensure that Marlene's commitment to carry no products with refined white sugar is maintained. She has observed the rise of genetically modified organisms in grocery products and is happy to be a part of the discussion on how to eradicate them from our food supply.
We scour the store of everything that's possibly genetically modified, and as everybody else knows, it's nearly an impossible task because they're pervasive and not labeled, and they're everywhere. Every white powder from citric acid to maltodextrin is probably genetically modified. You don't know that it's a corn source. So, you know, what do we do in the face of that? And what we decided to do is make a statement that, you know, if we can't get rid of everything that's already in the store, what we can do is make a commitment that every product coming into the store should not be genetically modified. The vendor should be able to come up with something that says this is either an organic corn source. We look at the big 4 ingredients: the corn, soy, canola, and sugar beets. So it's been very challenging, obviously, because it's all over the place. And what we're doing to educate people, since we don't want to alienate people by, you know, getting rid of all of these products, we're trying to educate people to let them know what we have in the store, why it's there, and what they can do to help themselves stay away from genetically modified ingredients. And we have our Sound Outlook, a newsletter that we provide to everybody monthly. We participate in the non-GMO project, so we label the non-GMO foods in the store. We educate our employees and talk to them about how to talk to customers, and that's most about it. Great.
Opportunity this morning to add somebody to the panel. Jared Sessler from a store or group called Freggies.
And I've had an opportunity to speak many times at Marlene's and actually have done some training with their staff on food labeling and things like that. I think Nick should do some YouTube videos on educating people on GMO stuff. And thanks for being here, Elizabeth. Really cool to have Whole Foods here too as well. So super appreciative, especially of Whole Foods and Marlene's having fresh organic salad bars, because that's just so uncommon. It seems ridiculous that we live in Seattle. It's so hard to get an organic salad. So my story, Freggies is an organic produce delivery service. My job is probably easier than anybody else up here because all we do is produce and all we do is organic. And I'll tell you the obstacle that I believe, and I'm going to start from the bottom of the question list and go up. The obstacle is education. People don't understand how important this GMO issue is, and it's frustrating to me that you take something that's perfect as it's grown in nature and needs no labeling. It is organic, it is non-GMO, it needs no labeling, and we modify it and we don't label it, and that becomes like the new standard, and now we have to label the stuff that is actually right. I mean, it's just like so convoluted. I'm just like, what's going on? So I appreciate the fact that there's 100 and some people that are here tonight. The bottom line is this is all fixed really simply. If we can educate everyone and we all refuse to buy anything that's GMO related, it's that simple. Companies are in business to make money. If we just stop buying it, and just like Europe, like why on earth are we still cooking with aluminum? Like Europe banned that 50 years ago. You know, I mean, it's crazy. Goldie probably knows the statistics on exactly when that happened, but it was a long time ago. You know, and I don't know why in the U.S. we're so slow to actually band together and make this stuff happen. So I was diagnosed with terminal cancer 12 years ago through eating and living just sort of like a standard American diet, and went to a primarily plant-based, primarily raw foods diet taught by Hallelujah Acres, and learned a ton and changed my diet, and basically got healed of metastasized melanoma, which is the worst, fastest moving kind of cancer you can get, stage 4. And it's 12 years, I'm doing great, got 3 kids, beautiful wife, amazing life.
Jody's Bueller is the outreach and marketing coordinator at the Skagit. I really apologize. The Skagit Valley Co-op down in downtown Mount Vernon. She's come a long ways, and just a wonderful person to interact with the last few weeks since we've gotten to know each other a little bit. She writes a Calls to Arms column in the co-op's newsletter, encouraging shoppers to become active in food systems politics. She's on organizing committee for a Skagit Human Rights Festival and a co-host for the Human Rights Radio Show, Speak Up and Out Radio and KSVR and KSVU Public Radio for Skagit. Last week, Jody interviewed Goldie, and I put a short domain name on that if you want to write it down. It's an excellent interview. It's tinyurl.com and then / Jody Goldie. So you can go listen to this half-hour interview that they did a couple days ago. So thank you very much for coming, and we appreciate it.
Sure. I'm going to fill in a little bit. I feel kind of like I'm coming from the hinterlands into the city, and not just geographically or physically, also because the co-op where I work, it's 1 hour north of here, it's right on I-5. It's been around for 38 years. I started, it's really sweet. We are a year and 3/4 of a way through a ginormous deli remodel. And I'm bringing this up because it's going to be important in just a minute, but we're in the middle of a farming deli, and we grow a lot of seed for international export, and we've got at least one Monsanto company in the valley growing seed. I don't know if we have more. That's sort of one of the other sides of this question. I started my job 4 years ago, and I made my job. Our GM had been doing the marketing and the outreach and all that for 35 years. So we're coming from a place where we know a lot of these people. I've worked with lots of people who've been in the grocery industry for a long time, but I am my department also. So when we talk about what we're doing, we've been doing shelf tagging, we've been doing making sure we put signs up, do a whole lot of Facebooking, I write articles. It's me. And then it's the cashiers that I sit and I talk to and walk through the PowerPoint that the Non-GMO Project gave us, which is awesome because I don't have the time to do that on my own. And we walk through it and I say, you guys all know what this means, and then do you know what the implications are? And that part starts to get scary. And in this year's meeting, the biggest charge in the room came from our cashiers talking about our deli, because we all eat in our deli every day. And our deli, like pretty much every other restaurant I know of, has Cisco trucks come through and uses canola oil. And. So we've got unevenness going on. And I think that's true of our culture in general. Unevenness, polarization, compartmentalization. So the challenge in all this, and what I told the cashiers, was just to try and give them something, because as we're raising awareness in our customer base, everybody's reaction, very rightfully so, is fear, outrage, resentment, powerlessness. And these people who get paid not enough money to do what they do are fielding very righteous emotions. So I wanted to try and give them, I don't have anything to finish this with, but I wanted to try and give them some way of standing true in their integrity.